You are in the House of Nerd Immersion, and it is 4 p.m. on October the 24th, if you wanted to know. What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and I could not resist making a video in costume on the 24th of October. It just had to happen. But that being said, I'm also in costume because we're going to be going through the process of building Theodore the Orange, my character, his Bastion, in the game that I'm playing in. I play every Thursday night over on my buddy Captain Robert's channel, and today happens to be Thursday as I'm recording this. And we made the decision last session that while our characters already have a keep in Neverwinter, we're going to take the next kind of logical step and turn that keep into a proper bastion, allowing the players to use bastion rules. So someone had suggested in the comments of the last video where I kind of explained the differences between the Unearthed Arcana and the final version here in the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. And they said, could you build out a bastion and kind of walk us through it? Now, unfortunately, I can't show you what is, in the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, but I can talk you through the process of what it's going to be look like, or what it's going to look like to build Theodore's Bastion. And I happen to be in that game level 13, so I will have access to all but the last highest level special facility. So I'm going to just hit Bastions on a very high level to give you a little bit of groundwork to understand, but one of the cool things about Bastions is they're largely player controlled. The DM has a little bit of input in the number of Bastion turns you'll take, which is a 7-day period that happens inside the game, whether your party is in the Bastion or far away adventuring. Time still passes, and every 7 days a Bastion turn can be taken. When taken, things can happen. Either items can be made or harvested, or possibly an event can happen. That's the only other thing that the DM controls. So the DM tells you how many Bastion turns have happened, how much time has passed, and if an event happens, they help adjudicate the results of that, but there's a 50% chance that everything works fine and there's nothing to worry about. So, as part of building a bastion, remember this is an optional rule. Your DM does not have to allow this. It is purely up to them if they want to do it. And the only other requirement, other than the DM saying it's okay, is that the party is level 5, or the character getting the bastion at least is level 5. That's it. Otherwise, most of it, like I said, is controlled by the players. They encourage you to draw a bastion map. Again, taking the opportunity to, whether this is with a map creation tool, or with just a pen and or a pencil on a piece of graph paper, whatever works best for you. I will go ahead and pull up and show you. This is what I did for Theodore's Bastion. You can see there are a handful of special facilities and a handful of basic facilities, as well as a defensive wall all around the outside. We'll come back to this image again when it's time to reference things in full. But basically, when they're telling you when you're designing your Bastion map, the following things come for free. Have as many as you want, add them in, whatever you like. Closets, as well as like bathrooms and other kind of similar enclosures. Corridors, ramps, and staircases to get from one place to another. Doors and windows. And the only other one here is defensive walls. They do say that, building a defensive wall around your bastion does cost gold. They're 20 feet high, and they may include a walkway along to access, up on the top. Each 5-foot square of defensive wall takes 10 days to build and costs 250 gold pieces. And the benefit of the defensive wall is if you get into a bastion event where your defenders are under attack, then you'll reduce the number of dice rolled to determine how many bastion defenders are lost, which is a good thing when we'll get into bastion and defenders here in a little bit. My Theodore's Bastion does have defenders, so we'll be able to talk through that as well. So, again, when it comes to facility space, the only thing you kind of really need to understand is the terms cramped, roomy, and vast. Those just equate to the number of squares they would take up on a 5-foot map grid. So a cramped space is 4 squares, a roomy space is 16, and a vast is 36. Nothing says you need to make them a square. You can arrange them in any way. They just need to fall within that 4, 16, or 36, or they could be less depending maximum area. You get 2 basic facilities in your bastion: a bedroom, a dining room, a parlor, courtyard, kitchen, storage, and you can add more for cost, but again, these are purely role play. They do not have any mechanical function. So for Theodore's Bastion, we have a dining room and a bedroom. And then there's like in the other rooms kind of connect through the special facilities. You have the opportunity to spend gold to either add additional basic facilities or enlarge the existing ones. I'm not really going to focus on that because that's purely an aesthetic choice for you to make. It doesn't fundamentally, affect anything mechanically. Now, special facilities are where it's really at. At level 5, you get access to 2 special facilities. At level 9, you get access to 2 more, I guess. And then at level 13, you have access to 5 total special facilities, with level 17 being your final 6th special facility. I said that with a question mark because I thought it was 2, 3, 4, 5, which might have been what was in the Unearthed Arcana. I guess there's more here in the final version. It just didn't trigger for me, which also means that now we actually get to go through the process of adding an additional bastion a special facility that I had not planned for because I miscalculated when I did it. So it says that a player can configure the squares of the facility as they see fit. Their special facilities all list what their space requirements are. And then the other kind of fun thing that you get to do is you get to develop the hirelings that live within and operate your special facility. Each special facility comes with an associated number of hirelings. For most, it's just 1, but for others, it might be 2 or more. You have the opportunity to name them, give them personalities, describe them to your heart's content if you see fit, or you can leave it up to the DM. The one thing about the hirelings are they don't stand the chance of getting risked or getting lost in a bastion attack. So building out and putting a backstory into them doesn't have a negative side. You could do the same thing for the defenders as well. However, they do stand a pretty standard chance of being lost if you get into a bastion attack event. Again, as mentioned, there are several orders that you can take. For the purposes of this, we're just going to talk about the ones that are associated with the given special facilities that I'm choosing. But also the important one is the maintain order. Typically, that is what's taken when your character is not in their bastion, which just tells the people working there, hey, just don't, burn the house down, keep things going. If you have access to long-range communication, you might be able to issue a different order if it's something that can be done without you present. Sometimes for crafting certain abilities or certain things, you need to be present to do the crafting because of just the nuance of how it works. But that's about it. So on to Theodore's Bastion. He gets 2 special facilities at level 5. One of which he's choosing is the Arcane Study. This does have the prerequisite that you need to be able to use an arcane focus or a tool as a spellcasting focus. As a wizard, not a problem. It comes with 1 hireling. It is roomy size, which is again 16 squares. And the order that it can take is Craft. In it, he can use it to make an arcane study charm, which gives him basically a magical charm that lasts for 7 days. And that charm gives you a freebie expenditure of Identify, the Identify spell, once within the 7 days. And that's just a thing. If you long rest in your bastion, you get that charm. You don't have to do anything special to get that charm. It's just a thing you have if you sleep in your bastion. Specifically the Arcane Study. Now, if you choose to issue the craft order, you have a couple of options. One, you can have it craft an arcane focus for you. Not really a huge thing for Theodore. He's already got, multiple options for that. Craft a book. Again, commissioned to make a blank book. Potentially that could have use. Blank books you can sell them for a decent amount. It costs you 7 days and 10 gold pieces to make it. Or more importantly, the one that I'm looking forward here to is craft magic item Arcana. If you're level 9+, which we've already established he is, you can issue command the facilities hireling to craft an uncommon or common magic item from, again, the Arcana table here in the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. This is, again, more wizardly, arcane-based things, but you can pick one of those, and then you basically need to follow the crafting rules set forth in the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. We already done a video on that. The hireling that's present in your facility is proficient in the Arcana skill and has the tool associated, whatever it might be, to craft whatever you're looking to craft. The only thing that might the only thing that's different is if the magic item you're trying to craft allows them to cast a spell, then you, or in this case Theodore, the owner of the bastion, has to be the one who's crafting it because you need to have the spell prepared. Your hireling is not guaranteed to have that. So if you're having them craft a magic item that does not duplicate the effect of a spell in some way, then they can just do it and you can leave, issue that order and then leave, or send them a message to issue that from long range. And then again, it'll take whatever the time it takes to craft it. Second special facility he's choosing at level 5 is the barracks. Now, the reason I chose the barracks, and you don't have to, is looking at things, you have this concept we talked about bastion defenders. As we mentioned, when you issue the maintain order, and if the DM says, okay, 3 turns, 3 bastion turns have happened, and you issued the maintain order, we're going to roll on the bastion events table. And again, it could just be something like, your hirelings find some treasure for you, or nothing bad happens, but one of the options is an attack. And if you don't have defenders, then your special facility shuts down and is unusable for like that current period for a little while until, you kind of fix the issues. But a counteraction to an attack is having bastion defenders. But you don't get defenders just automatically. You have to choose to get them by something like having a barracks, which allows you to have up to 12 bastion defenders at the basic level. You can upgrade the size of this to hold a total of 25. And basically, when you issue the recruit order for your barracks, it can pull in bastion recruits up to 4 at a time per bastion turn. And it says keep track of the ones housed in there. If you lose them, deduct them from your roster, and you can choose to assign as much as you'd like to them. So if we jump down to the Bastion events table, I'll just explain what that means so you'll understand kind of why. So if you get into an attack situation, a hostile force attacks your Bastion. The DM will roll, or they'll have you roll 6d6. For each die roll that comes up as a 1, one Bastion defender dies. Remove these Bastion defenders from your Bastion roster. If the Bastion has 0 Bastion defenders, one of the Bastion's special facilities determined randomly is damaged and forced to shut down. A special facility that shuts down can't be used on your next Bastion turn, after which it is repaired and made operational again at no cost to you. So you can see that there's not necessarily a reason to have Bastion defenders. You don't necessarily have to have them. It fits into Theodore's backstory as he's traveled around and made a lot of friends in a lot of different areas. So that was a fun roleplay exercise for me to figure out who would he bring in to help defend his keep. And given the storyline that he's playing in, their party is kind of a target. So having people there who can help defend it when we're away made sense storyline-wise. So that's why I made that choice. And we already established that mine has a 20-foot high wall. So we already heard it was 6d6. You're going to lower that number down to 4d6 because of the defensive wall. There are other things you can also do, like if you use your armory to provide armor and stock your Bastion defenders, then there's benefits there as well. But he just has the basic level Bastion defenders that are there to deal with if an attack occurs. So when a Bastion event is rolled for, which again would happen if you're not there and issuing the maintain order, if you roll on your percentile of 51 to 55, an attack will happen. So you can also see that in the grand scheme of things, you can probably gamble on never being hit with an attack and just building your facilities to not have to worry about defenders at all, and then determine which one gets shut down, and you temporarily don't have access to that facility. I think that that's fine, but I wanted to have, like I said, it fit his backstory, being somebody who's traveled around and made friends in a lot of areas, that it would work to bring people in. And again, I got to take the fun time of coming up with his facility being expanded to accommodate 25 defenders. I got to come up with names and little bits of backstory and appearance and things for 25 people that he would, maintain to, keep track of what's going on and protect the facility. So that was it for level 5. Then we jump up to level 9, where again, I did not realize we have access to 2 facilities. So the primary 9th level facility that I had already determined I was going to use was the Scriptorium. This one does not have any prerequisites, and it allows you to craft things as well. You can see I'm a wizard. We're doing wizardy things. One of them is called Craft a Book Replica. You commission the facility's hireling to make a copy of a non-magical book, as long as you have a blank book already. It takes 7 days to do so. More importantly, the one that I'm most excited about is Craft Spell Scroll. You commission the facility's hireling to scribe a scroll containing a cleric or wizard spell of third level or lower. The facility has the necessary calligrapher supplies, and the hireling meets all of the prerequisites needed to scribe the scroll. And it will use the rules in the player's handbook. As a wizard, this is particularly exciting for me because this is an opportunity that in the background, somebody can be scribing scrolls for me. And that means that I can add them to my spell book and to some degree have access to every first through third level spell that a wizard has access to by having scrolls scribed in the background that I can eventually copy into my book. Or just issue them the order to make things like important and continually used scrolls like Misty Step. Scrolls of Misty Step could be huge to not have to burn through your spell slots, or scrolls of Fireball, or Dispel Magic, or whatever the case may be. You could have them do this again as a wizard to get you access to new spells for your spell book. Or again, it says Cleric as well, so a Cleric could do this to get scrolls of Cure Wounds or Healing Word. And then lastly, it has craft paperwork. You commission the facility's hireling to create up to 50 copies of a broadsheet, a pamphlet, or another loose leaf paper. Work takes 7 days and costs you 1 gold piece per copy. At no additional cost in time or money, the facility's hirelings can distribute those paperwork to one or more locations within 50 miles of your bastion. What that could be used for, that's up for you to figure out with your DM. I think it definitely might be worth looking into the Sowing Rumors downtime activity from the 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide as an opportunity for you to essentially generate propaganda for one reason or another, or just to inform the townspeople of something. Now, again, not realizing we get an additional facility here at 9th level, that means I have another choice to make. So I was actually choosing another 9th level facility in the training room, which is what I had, or sorry, not the training room, the trophy room, as part of Theodore's traveling around and defeating monsters and gathering resources. He's acquired a handful of different trophies, and he's a big fan of gathering up monster bits and things for crafting purposes or what have you. So I also chose the trophy room, which is another level 9 facility. This one has the research order, and it could do one of the following. You could choose research lore. So you commission the facility's hirelings to create research a topic of your choice. It could be a legend, creatures, famous objects, what have you. The work takes 7 days. When the research concludes, the hireling attains up to 3 accurate pieces of information about the topic that were previously unknown to you and shares the knowledge with you the next time you speak with them. The DM figures out what that information is. Or research trinket trophy. This one I don't really care about, but you commission the facility's hireling to search for a trinket that might be of use to you. The work takes 7 days. Roll on the common implements table in Chapter 7. Again, implements is one of the 4 categories of magic items we have in 2024. Implements are basically, utility items, but they're only common. So if you look back, this could be things like, Heward's handy spice pouch or a pipe of smoke monsters or whatever. Things that don't really do anything fundamentally, but they're kind of fun things to have. But again, for my character backstory wise, the trophy room makes a lot of sense for him to have. Now, not realizing that I actually had access to another facility, and I want to take the opportunity to say this, when I thought I only had access to 4, I did not choose a facility from 13th level. I chose 2 5s and 2 9s. Nothing stopping you from doing that, but you are only allowed one 13th level facility, and then, or I guess at level 17 you could choose another 13th level facility, but then you wouldn't have access to a 17th level facility. Now you do have the opportunity to change the facilities if one doesn't work out for you, but realizing now that I have access to one additional facility, I have to go through that list. Armory doesn't really make sense. Library. See, the other problem that I have with some of this is a lot of these seem to have redundancies, right? An arcane study, a scriptorium, a trophy room, a library, an archive. A lot of these are very similar in a lot of ways in what they let you do, researching lore and things like that. Again, you could choose to have something like a menagerie, which lets you have and house rare animals, which can be used as defenders to help protect your keep. Um, but you could have an observatory as well, and that lets you contact other plane. I'm kind of leaning towards either the garden or the greenhouse due to Theodore's backstory. He has a large tie with nature. So I think the garden could be very interesting. That lets you harvest things. The work takes 21 days, and you can harvest the garden growth, and you could choose to harvest if you're making flowers, make perfumes or floral bouquets, and then you could sell those. You could harvest rations to make food that you could sell or distribute, herbs to make either healer's kit or healing potions, or poisons to make antitoxins or vials of basic poison. That, unfortunately, while that is very powerful at level 5, gets pretty high quickly outclassed. So the greenhouse, however, does give you additional information that allows you to, one, get a freebie lesser restoration if you stay there by having a plant that allow you to do that, and one of your harvest options is to allow you to get greater healing potions, which is much more useful later on in the game, as well as harvesting a variety of different kinds of poison. So I think we're going to probably go with the greenhouse in name, but have it flavored to look more like a garden, because he would rather be outside in a garden than inside in a greenhouse. I could look at, say, something like the laboratory, but that's more alchemical stuff and poisons, not something he's interested in. The library, again, lets you get some accurate information, but so does the trophy room, so it kind of is redundant in that aspect. The observatory, again, lets you have the ability to contact other planes, and then lets you make some minor charms like Charm of Dark Vision. The pub is not really a thing for Theodore. The reliquary, he can't do so because it's holy symbol based. Um, just looking to see what other things there are. He's not really going to do smithy or a stable or a storehouse. Teleportation circle is not a bad one to have a teleportation circle formulated in your bastion. And then that would allow you to summon forth a wizard to stay in your teleportation, in your bastion. And then if you're, level 17, if you're level 4, if you're under level 17, that wizard can basically provide spellcasting services for you of a spell of up to level 4 or lower. Whereas if you're 17 plus, they can provide an 8th level spell. The theater's not really for him, neither is the training area. And then, the workshop doesn't really fit. The workshop could fit, but other characters seemingly are going to have that. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up when building a bastion. Consider working with your other fellow players as, does it make a lot of sense for your bastion to have a workshop if your one ally is going to have a workshop in their bastion? I mean, maybe if you want to craft the same kind of things at the same time, but other than that, you might want to add some variety. But if you have 4 characters or more building bastions, you're going to have some kind of overlap to some degree. So, again, building the bastion, as I said, is basically as simple as what I just said to you. I want these things. I hit the level prerequisites for them, and then I just have them. And then I work with a DM to figure out how much time has passed in the game to see how much time has been issued for either rolling bastion turns or how much things have been crafted. So I think based on our final discussion here, I'm going to go with the greenhouse, but we'll flavor it to be more like an outdoor garden. And if we were to jump back to the map that I was showing you, here is the bedroom, right? Here is just like a general other room here. We have our dining room here. This is the barracks for the allies, the defenders to stay in. This is the scriptorium over here. Here's our trophy room. Here's our arcane study. And we might expand this little green area here to make this a full-blown garden. And that would be my bastion. Now, is my DM going to use this? I don't know. I could send him this map, and it's already gridded, and he could drop it into a virtual tabletop if need be. But this is just my stuff. We have a much larger keep that has the benefits of everybody having their own space. Now, also to point out, again, bringing up the concept of things being optional rules, not every character needs to have a bastion at your table. I can have a bastion, let's say, because let's say it makes sense for me to have it. I know masons, I know people that can do this. I can, erect stone walls with my magic. So maybe that's why I have a bastion. Or maybe some characters just don't care enough, right? They're more nomadic. They're more just sleep wherever they go. They don't necessarily need to be tied down to a space, or they don't really care when you go back to your keep. They hang out wherever. So it could be possible maybe the bastion is your noble character's home, and it's like that's their thing, and then that's a benefit of how you're going to handle nobles in your game. But we'll see if the other players and my table actually went through the effort of building a bastion. I don't know, but like I said, I built out all of the defenders with I split them up into different groups and decided what they would all look like. I gave them all personalities. I built out all the history with all of the hireling NPCs, and now I have to get another one to tend the garden. So, yeah, I don't know. This is I thought this would just be an interesting effort to go through, but for the most part, there's not a lot to be done. You look at what level you're at, choose the facilities. Now, I would personally say there's obviously meta gamey choices, right? Some things are better than others. The ones that let you obviously craft uncommon magic items are more useful than the ones that might let you craft a trinket. The theater gives you essentially a freebie die to use. The meditation chamber gives you access to advantage on certain saving throws for a certain period of time. Those are very strong options if you're looking at it from a purely mechanical standpoint. And obviously, you can feel free to do that. But if it were me, I would try to look at my character's backstory and see what fits the most for the character, and then work with your other players to kind of fully outfit your bastion. Is your bastions are they gonna be combined? That was another thought that I had. If I'm the only one who has defenders, but all of our bastions are combined together, I can allocate my defenders. If their bastion goes under attack, I can send my defenders over to protect their bastion if mine is not under attack, which is a benefit of combining bastions. If nobody else chooses a barracks and everybody gets attacked, then people are going to have facilities get shut down, whereas maybe my defenders will hold them off. Who knows? So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this little trip down building a bastion here. I wish I had the opportunity to show you more on screen. It would probably make things look a little bit easier, but unfortunately, until it hits early access, you're just going to have to settle for me talking at you instead. So anyway, I would like to thank you all so very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.